that's tight. That's very tight. Working. Go away you. G'day, Perry. All right, so I've got to remember you can't see my screen, which is annoying. But that's life. I'll have a look at Randwick. I'll have a look at a couple of races from Moonee Valley, and then I'll have a decent look at these upcoming races this week. They're pretty good. So chat about the Vic Derby, Empire Rose, Coolmore, Golden Rose. They're probably the main ones. But what the Sigma? Go away. What happened to the streams? What do you mean? What do you mean? Fill up Saturday. It was a good day. 40 man. Yeah, just trying to work through some stuff. Oh yeah, well I'm not. Yeah, they've just got restrictions at the moment. Trying to work through what I can and can't do in life. But we'll see how we go. At the moment, this is what we can do. So yeah, Randwick Saturday, 7 metre rail. Yeah, it was a 4. It was probably a little bit, but played a little bit slower from the chute. So it was like probably closer to a 5, at least from the chute, and then around the circle, you know, it was 4-ish, probably just on the wrong side of a 4. So we've been getting, you know, 2s to 3s the last few weeks. So this was definitely a little bit softer than what we've seen, you know, sort of Everest Day and the week prior. What license, mate? Don't know what license. Yeah, so and I thought the track was played pretty fair. So I would suggest that it was a slight advantage to be up there towards the speed. And then, yeah, coming from back and wide, we did see sort of Attica made ground, but it was pace assisted. Hope made a bit of ground. It was pace assisted. Who else? Steffi Magnetti came from the back off a solid tempo too. So nothing really closed from the back off even to soft tempo. So you'd suggest that it was a bit of an advantage to be up there for sure. 2-year-olds are rubbish. I agree with that, Paul. Beautiful name. Mysterious Gentle, go away. You're going to the block list. I will watch a few of these replays just to jog my memory a few times, even though you cannot see them, but we'll just chat about them. But the first was not really worth looking at, I didn't think, and then we can jet through these and spend more time on the ones we can talk about. Yeah, it was a very steady race. The ride on Pearl of Dubai was probably a little bit passive early, got stuck 3 wide. The winner definitely got a more aggressive ride, took the position outside of the leader. Pretty hard to knock. The win looks a big, strong sort of filly, thrill hunter, and you know did a good job. So I don't really want to knock it too heavily, but I agree with Paul. The race in general is very steady. I don't think looking at the where can we find this? Where are you? Here we are. Looking at the trials leading into the race, I was like, wow, these are probably the least educated bunch of 2-year-olds I've ever seen for a metropolitan race. There was nothing there that looked significantly like professional. Probably Pearl of Dubai was the only one that looked like it had its marbles, really. And Thrill Hunter did a good job. It's good for Terry Croft to train a winner in town. The price is probably silly. Like most of them trialled fairly similar, I thought. But yeah, there was nothing, Green Kirk completely lost his marbles. Defence Man every chance. Pearl of Dubai, a little bit wide, but if it was a top line horse, I probably would have got the job done anyway. I don't think there were too many excuses. And the race itself, wasn't great. Nothing really happened. It was only still sort of length and a half below standard. Next race, race 2, back here. Great ride. Just want to sort of have a look at when.
No Angel in the Wind is moving forward.
So they go.
Angel in the Wind.
They go about a length and a half below to the 800-metre mark, then slow down another further 2 lengths between the 8 and the 6 to about 3.5 below, and then they don't really come home. They come home just below standard. So the race is not good. This is the highway, Class 3, 4 to 1600. But what Schiller does a great job of is about the 800-metre mark, I'm assuming. Just trying to work out when he did take off. It was just prior to the 600-metre mark, probably about 700 metres out. He takes off. He pockets Ghost Hunter and just completely misses the boat. Upwardly mobile. It's not the jockey's fault. He's in a bad spot. He's just completely shuffled back when they all come around. And, you know, Schiller really does a good job to just put the pedal down on this horse, who obviously is a little bit one-paced. But, you know, out-sprinted Poison Point. I think the jockey hit it 21 times, Poison Point. He copped a week's suspension and a monkey fine, I think. But, yeah, Poison Point, at least it got put in the race this time and sort of outgunned late. The winner does a decent job, really, to hold them off. But there are certainly runners back there in behind that are a bit unlucky. I wouldn't be sort of too kind to Krista. I think that's the sort of horse it is, very one pace, needs everything to go its way. I wouldn't be forgiving it too much. Ghost Walker certainly did miss the boat, but then had its chance if it was any good either. So, you know, the winner's probably got as much upside as anything. Poison Point's very honest. Most of them are very similar horses. I don't think there was much else to be learnt here, was there? Hey, well, need your thoughts later on Saturday races. Carbon Club and Vanity. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'd see. I'd be careful with it. Saintly, I was just saying, Krista's just not much good. I know this horse back to front. I bet a bet up on it when he took a sit on it a couple of starts back, and it sort of sat 3 wide at Newcastle and kicked on. The horse is very, very, very plain. Just needs, you know, sit outside lead or 1 out, 1 back and hit the front and just everything to go its way. It's just it can't make its own luck. Race 3. Much quicker without going through the vision. Oakfield Jupiter resumed from a spell. I actually thought it was a bit of a risk first up 1,200 metres, but a very good ride from Jason Collett. He rode very well pretty much all day. Rolled forward into 1 out, 1 back position. They did go a little bit quick early, 2.4 above to the 8 and the 6, and then they come home 3.5 below. So the race itself is not great. Slightly below standard off a solid tempo. So, yeah, I think very similar to the highway. There's not much to be learnt here. Oakfield Jupiter's definitely still got some upside, progressive sort of horse, and, you know, it was a solid enough win first up. Motor Scarfo's definitely can win a race like this. Only first up and did a pretty good job, kept coming to the line. Zuccarino's probably stuck in this grade forever. So Zanaka, Amaretto Bow's tricky. Mafia is not going to get much better than this. Clear Proof was a little bit disappointing, was unlucky for a few strides, then had its chance to sort of do something and didn't. Broadway Bouncer keeps missing the kick. Lady Shenanigans ran up a few backsides, but yeah, most of these horses are going to be contained to this grade and sort of take turn races where they need everything to go their way, whereas at least Oakfield Jupiter's probably just a little bit better than this grade, and Motor Scarfo's got a few wins in it. I think it's a pretty solid horse, just needs, you know, solid tempo and run on, or a very nice draw. It definitely needs a few more favours than Oakfield Jupiter's got. Got a few more strings to its bow. It can definitely put itself in the race a bit more. But a pretty boring race, race 3. Race 4, Fortune. What's this? The 600 metre quality. What was this worth? $1 million or something? Only 160,000. Wow, that's just terribly light on for prize money. This went absolutely to script. This is the point and shoot race where point and shoot was always going to miss the start. It was one of those brutal races where you found there was an even money chance that pretty much had none, unless, you know, a miracle happened. But trying to find the winner was very difficult. There was nothing really that well set up. This thing came out of the Canamble Cup, didn't it? This is the one that came out of the race behind, Just a Deal. It was Canamble, Cooner, Barrabrand. I'm so all these Sunday meetings at places with Cooner to start, they're very difficult. But yeah, you had to be up on speed at Cooner Barrabrand. And it shows that form's actually not too bad, even though Lockdown Gamble's come out and gone like a busted since. Solid win first up over a mile, and then here it was just in the right place at the right time, but it was still a solid win. They go, what do they do? They went out sort of 3.5 below, just quickened up a little bit, 3.2 below to the 600, 3 lengths above. So at least they sprinted home pretty solidly here. Point and Shoot runs the fastest last 8, 6 and 4 of the day, just peaked late. And Ruby Flyer actually did a good job, but had an absolutely blessed run behind the speed and hit the line well. It's an enigmatic horse. It's just pretty much impossible to follow. Needs to sting off the track, so I think it's probably one of the key horses to show that the track definitely had a bit of fire out of it compared to the last few weeks. But yeah, Point and Shoot's just, I think they're going for a spell, which is a great decision, so no one has to worry about Point and Shoot for a while. Fortune will continue to race well in similar races like this, and Ruby Flyer, I think, definitely needs the worst side of a 5 to do its best. And is dangerous when it's in the mood, but again, not much here. Silence is deafening. I'm assuming everyone agreeing that these races are pretty boring. Lindemann went like a right. So we're going to Sky Glider. I've missed a race. Race 5, the Brian Crowley. This race, I'm kicking myself. It stood out like dog's balls, this horse, Sky Glider, is a horse that was just very interesting. Came out of that maiden at Canterbury and then was put away quickly. It was sort of 94 days since it ran in that maiden at Canterbury, where it beat 60s, who came out and obviously raced well in much stronger races, and Estremo, who went down to Melbourne and raced in much stronger races. I'm still not over backing Estremo in that race and it never ever taking part. I think Sonic Scenes come out and won out of that race. Decalogues ran well. Macbee's run okay. So, that form's been as strong as most. And they put up like $8 or $9. There's no fluke to this win. It missed the kick a little bit and sort of had to be livened up to hold a spot. They did go out relatively quickly, I think. So they went out 2 lengths above, quickened up to 2.7 by the 600, and then 1.5 below for just a slightly above average time. It was very strong. Peloton, its normal trick. It did sit 3 wide the trip, so it was entitled to be a little bit vulnerable late, Peloton, but certainly not the strongest conveyance around, and has that short dash and then and really does struggle, but does seem to be improving a little bit, I guess. But Sky Glider was just dominant here. Grand Eagle doing its same thing all the time, just sort of getting back and running on. I thought it was pretty plain. Miss Free Love came out of a race where it was just completely I wouldn't 100% say flattered. It showed it had a good turn of foot last up, but everything went its way that possibly could, and this was certainly a deeper race. Memo was very plain, and so was Young Mr. Grey. So there were a few failures, which probably flattered Sky Glider a little bit. But I do think it does have upside and can go on from this, whereas the rest of them, they need a lot to go their way. I think they've proven that, and I'm not sure if that was Young Mr. Grace at its best or not. But, you'd probably give him another chance, especially if they put him away now. That was only his 3rd start in a race. Why was it a disaster verify? Crikey, everything shot pretty straight on Saturday. It wasn't difficult. Did you really? Honestly, why wasn't anyone? I don't understand. I wasn't there, right? But when people are taking away 80-meter lengths of running rail, why were they not stopping them? Mainly for security reasons. Like, why weren't they going to hurt people? Like, it's pretty dangerous, people running around with railways, with fence bloody posts. They didn't let them take it out. I can't believe they let them move it. I can't believe they let them move it. I saw some people taking clippings of grass. That was a little bit weird, but what did you take? What did you take? Yeah, I think, I think Sky Glider is the only one I want to really follow going out of that. Steve-O's just found a winner at the trots. Craven Plate, Lindemann. Another pointless argument, but yeah, this horse should have been in the Cox Plate. Completely dominant. It's gone, 6 lengths above to the 800 metre mark, ramped it up from 6 to 9 between the 8 and the 6, and then come home a couple lengths above. It's gone 11 lengths above for a Craven Plate for a Group 3 over this distance, weight for age. Like this horse should have been in the Cox Plate. I've never heard Nash speak about a horse like he spoke about this horse. For such an established horse, 6-year-old gelding, saying, I just can't wait for this horse to come back in the autumn. It'll be the number 1 horse in the Chris Waller stable. It was just interesting to hear him speak. They've basically cuddled this horse to this point. He's a machine now, and come the autumn and spring next year, he'll be winning Cox Plates and whatever he sort of contests in the autumn. It's pretty hard to sort of knock that too heavily. It's just weird that they didn't have a crack at the Cox Plate with this horse. I thought he went first up was weird on that heavy track, 1400, when Nash just stuck to the fence and sort of waved him past, and then he beat Cedelius, where Cedelius was obviously a little bit unlucky in that mile race. He led and controlled. Then he got beaten Nostra by Fangirl when she put up a big performance to come from the back in a slow run race. So, if he had gone a little bit quicker on Lindemann there, it probably would have held her off. Then he's obviously beaten him up last time in, the Hill Stakes from the outside draw, when he had to work a little bit, then controlled and raced away. And then this time he's just gone, pretty quick. And the horse it was just built to run in the Cox Plate this year. I just can't imagine why. It was set up so well to run there. Anyway, completely wasted time thinking about that. And I read they're going to spell it. The horse looks like it's got more in the tank to me, but it's won a $2 million race, a $750,000 race, and a $300,000 race, and run second in $1 million race. So he's had a huge prep. Militarized and Kovalik are doing their thing. That's as good as they can go. The race was set up for them to run as well as they could, and they did. El Costello tried to put it to the leader and sort of busted himself up late. Maybe they could have cuddled the horse and it might have held on for a second or something like that, but they tried to win, and you can't knock that. And I think that's as good as he goes. El Costello running 4th. They gap the rest. Not much to learn there. And if it's going for a spell, not much is going to happen, right? Tiny bit of Cedelius in Lindemann. I think they're very, very different horses, but he's a big, strong bugger. Cheap display items, some signs, and fake flowers. Signs are interesting. I remember when Colding was flying, the day that Boss bloody ran into 17 dead ends on Colding and it raced away. Was that a Golden Eagle? Was that the first Golden Eagle? He absolutely ran up their asses 33 times and raced away. I'd show the replay, but I don't want to get arrested. I hope Stan Fox, again, they set a fast tempo here. Dusty Bay sort of went out and decided it was going to put a bit of speed into the race, and you can't really knock him. He only got beat 4 lengths and ran 4th. So, yeah, I backed Dusty Bay in some pretty average horses, in pretty average races at sort of places like Grafton, and it struggled. So I think they've at least worked out that it needs to run this horse. Dusty Bay, he did a good job. Ruination, who looked like it was probably going to get a soft run on speed. I think that was a end of prep run. Definitely got keen in the run, sort of raced up and did its thing, and then just completely ran out of gas late. So I think that's probably the end of Ruination for the prep, but it did a good job, and it's probably a horse that can come back next time in and really improve. I think it's not a bad horse, Ruination. Rivellino was unlucky for sure, but it had the best run you've ever seen in your life, sort of way back on the fence. I hope I had the back of Ruination, and Collett did a great job here. He knew where Nash was, kept him there for as long as he could, and then pinched a break that was enough to sort of get him home. Rivellino was slightly unlucky, but it would have had the best dream run in the history of the world to get home very narrowly. So I don't think there's much between Hope and Rivellino going forward. I think they'll, probably both next prep horses now. Rivellino might continue to race on it, just sort of one of those horses that gets back and runs on. So never spends much petrol, but yeah, they're both pretty solid horses that could go to another level. I'd probably rather own a Hope personally, but yeah, Rivellino hasn't done a lot wrong. It's just contested very good races, and it just might not be up to that very top level. Yeah, I agree with that, Saintly. Certainly disappointing that Farnicle didn't run. Angel Capital going to the Ore is an interesting one. I wonder why they're not. I wonder why they're not going the Golden Eagle with Angel Capital. Very strange decision for mine. Very strange decision. This is a great race. The times make sense. It did look like this horse pulled off an impossible mission from the back on a day where it was obviously, especially to this point, nothing had really made a lot of ground. And Attica was able to sustain a really strong run. Again, sort of like Tambaloa got running here, but Tambaloa stuck on. So, you know, maybe the more you look at this day, the more it was an advantage to be up there closer to the speed. A lot of horses that set solid tempos at big prices hung on. So, you know, you've worked out that Tambaloa at 250 to 1 is a much better horse than what the market gave it credit for, or the on-pace bias was stronger than what, you know, maybe it looked. And with horses like Tambaloa and Dusty holding on up on speed, you know, maybe it was more difficult to run on than what I'm giving it credit for. And that sort of boosts the performance of Attica, who, you know, since the blinkers have gone on, has been extremely strong, ridden from the back of the field. Shangri-La Boy was incredible. How much is left in the tank for both these horses? I'd say not a lot. I saw Joe Pride came out basically instantly and said Attica will not be going to the Vic Derby. I assume he doesn't do a 180 on that one. I don't think he'll change his mind. I doubt that Shangri-La Boy will make that trip either. Sort of only first prep. I haven't looked into it too much. Pearl's every chance, stuck on pretty solid. As you said, sort of Tambaloa wasn't bad. Southern Prince wasn't bad. The time was not, it was pretty much even sort of time off a 6 length above to the 8, 5 lengths above to the 6, and they come home 5 lengths below. So the race is pretty steady, like as in right on average. Nothing wrong with that. Didn't think there was much from the back. Sort of San Giovanni looks like it's probably had enough. Officiate looks like it had enough. Within the law, I think they've sort of gone to the well there enough. It probably needs a spell too. I couldn't see too many excuses for anything back in the pack here. The supervisors for Tambaloa. That's brutal, Mr. Virgin. Brutal. Not a Group 1. Oh, because it's not a Group... I saw that. I know no more. Sorry, you're probably right. I did read that they want to win a Group 1 with Angel Capital, and that's why they're going to the Ore. But, geez, it's... What is it? A $10 million race? Yeah, it's an interesting one, Ben. It's I did a quick video the other day of their horses. It's incredible that... And it's not only the 3-year-olds, but it's significant that their rise of their 3-year-olds. So Tempted, Baywhack, Ahope, Attica, Observer, Options. They're all in different stables pretty much. Pericles flying. And not to say they weren't going well. It's just, I don't even know. Without knocking James, he was he was the head trainer, but there was a lot going on behind the scenes too there that, you know, he wasn't in control of a lot of the decisions. So, you know, it's hard to put the blame solely on James, no matter what, I think. So, but regardless, it's just interesting to see what happens when you get horses that have obviously, you know, very well bred, very well raised by the Godolphin system, very well pre-trained, broken in, and, you know, all these horses were given groundings by James Cummings's system. Again, you can't give him all credit for that if you're not giving him all credit for the poor performances. So, yeah, like it's not as if these horses were all born and raised by these stables, and you know, they've been given ready-made horses, all of them. But what they've been able to do with them is quite incredible. So, you know, there's a lot of these other, you know, horses not even spoken about. Just pretty much across the board, everyone seems to be performing with these horses. So it's worked well. It's interesting, you know. And to me, to me, what I would suggest is that if you compared this to, say, mega stables, I'd say it's a similar situation where you've got a lot of horses that, for argument's sake, Lindemann, and it's a pretty extreme horse. But you say Lindemann, and maybe he's come to the fore a little bit more this time in, but he was a bit of a whipping horse early in his career. If that horse went to Joe Pride or Mark Newnham, he doesn't even train here anymore, would it be on a different preparation path? Would it be targeting different races? Would it be set for different races? You know, that's pretty much what it feels like to me. That, you know, when a lot of horses in your Kira Mara and whatever stables are probably underperforming because they're getting through they're let through the cracks a little bit, and yeah, to me, that's why I think one of the major decisions that has to be made in Australian racing over the next 5 to 10 years to make sure there's longevity here is making the training scene far more competitive, you know, cutting the numbers down to whatever it is, say 50 or 100 in town, and then if you want to have more horses, they've got to be trained elsewhere, something like that. I just feel like it's just I think everyone's looking at it as James Cummings is underperformed, whereas I feel like it shows what you can do with quality horses if they're dispersed correctly. You know, if everyone's given a chance, and it's not as if they went to trainers that aren't given chances all the time anyway. Yeah, that's true too, Daniel. But I think every horse, if it's given the right amount of attention, at least you sort of get to the bottom of them a little bit, right? Whereas, I think at the moment there's a lot lost. Yeah, so that Spring Champion Stakes, I don't think we'll see too many of these horses again in races over the spring. I don't think Shangri-La's going forward, but yeah, the top two are very classy horses that I can't wait to see come back in the autumn and see what they can do, because I think they've only got serious upside. You know, Shangri-La just thriving in the Waterhouse camp, ridden the way it is, and really strong type, and Attica's, you know, a little bit adaptable and very raw still, and looks like it's got huge upside. Thoughts on the third horse from an Oaks perspective? Yeah, well, she's not. I think like what you see is what you get there. But she's got a little bit of speed, and she's got a little bit of stamina. I think that form will definitely measure up to the Oaks. I'll be surprised if it didn't. It's just I don't think she's got huge upside from what you've seen there. So I think, you know, she's very solid, but she's no world beater. Joe Pride's always been, and I think it's an interesting indicator. They used to put out stats, and I don't know if they do anymore, on trainers, how much they spend at the sales per Metropolitan win. And the Hawks crew are always at the bottom. They're always like $600,000-$700,000 they spend for every Metropolitan win. And Joe Pride used to always be like 50 grand. He always used to lead it from the right end. G'day, Nikki. Yeah, so it's hard to argue that Joe doesn't do as good a job as most, especially with moderate stock, if that's what you want to call it. But it's also about being able to find horses for realistic prices that can be competitive, and that's also, you know, Jamie Walter obviously does a good job at that. He's done an incredible job and doesn't buy at the high end for the most part. So again, it's not just Joe, but he does a good job. The Invitation, this horse was very well backed. Steffi Magnetica, $3.90. It started a very, very strong win. It actually got carried back at a vital stage. It sort of got caught in an awkward spot and got dragged back just before the bend, and it's just a really strong, sustained effort. Bit of a tricky one. Like they've gone out sort of a length and a half below. They've ramped it up from the 800 metre mark to 2.7 above, and then come home only sort of 1.3 below. So the time's good. The race is good. Gerringong definitely much better ridden up on speed. Gangster Granny got caught a little bit wide, and I thought 1400 would see it out, and it still did a very good job, Gangster Granny, I thought. You know, if it's a softer draw, it probably wins or goes close. Manal was the disappointing horse. Looks a bit more one pace, whether it's looking for further or it just got that perfect run it always looked like it'd get, but it was just a little bit disappointing for mine. Bahini was good. Mr. Mbini certainly definitely not at her best. I think whatever that little setback was between not the Turak, was it? The lead up to the Turak. And this race was definitely not the same horse we saw down there. She was a bit fired up. She definitely did a few things wrong in the run. Got caught a little bit wide for a while, but definitely not at her best. And I think Moonee Supreme sort of shown that whether she's had enough or not, but definitely a sort of 1,000 to 1,200 metre horse, Moonee Supreme. Diamond Lil didn't jump that clean set of fast tempo. It was okay, but probably not up to this grade either. But Steffi just sort of flexed that she's a little bit better than these horses, I think, and offer, a decent, only a moderate first up run, I thought. Trial in between, which was solid against Baywack, and then here it was just, she was just better than them, to be fair. And, yeah, she can go to another race straight off this and definitely peak off this. I think she's only second up, so there's no reason she can't play a big part down in Melbourne. I would suggest that not following it's the best thing to do, Saintly, Gerringong. I think it lacks a killer blow. I think it's just a horse, again, a little bit similar to, say, well, Manal's, it's probably aggressive, saying it's as good as her, but she just needs everything to go her way. And she's had that a few times and still can't win. So she's a tough horse to follow, I agree. Where's Chris Lees? Chris Lees has always had too many horses for mine. I think he's a trainer that's really pays the price for having probably 2 or 3 times as many horses as he should have. I don't think... I think a lot gets through the cracks there and makes it difficult for any trainer to have just too many horses. I think he's a victim of that. Oh, we'll see Baywacker on this week. The last we just sort of went to script. I thought they went out 1.3 below to the 8 and the 6 and then 2.3 above. Just a real professional, this horse, Transatlantic. As soon as he got that position outside lead and he was able to dictate, the race was pretty much over. And, he's super strong to the line, coming back from a Group 1 to a 5-year-old's listed race. He looked extremely well placed and he was. General Salute got going pretty well late, ran the fast last 200 of the day. He never got near the winner, but he continues to race well without much luck and just struggling to find the right race, but he's still picking up good checks along the way. General Salute, he's another one of those tricky horses to follow. The Inflictor looked like it could improve here with a better draw and a more positive ride. It jumped well and raced well. Shadizi was a little bit disappointing, I thought, every chance, and just didn't really finish the race off. So I thought she was a bit underwhelming, to be fair, from where she was in the run. Les Vampire, I think, is ready to go now. I think it was a beautiful little clean-out run for Les Vampire, and it'll be ready to go. Cafe Millennium was forgivable, but back to 1,400 and back to Melbourne, I think, is probably best for Cafe Millennium, but definitely back to 1,400 for it. And anything further back, I think Saltcoats had another one of those EOPH. I don't know what its go is, whether it's banned like She's Unusual or not now after having a couple of those, or whether she gets to have another shot at the title. I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely Transatlantic's on target for I'm assuming, going to the 5 Diamond. I don't think anything else can really turn the table on it that's here without bad luck. It definitely looked a bit dominant over this field. I don't think there's much for it, Spider. I think it's a bit of a suck horse, Shadizi. Maybe it needs to be ridden a little bit colder. But when you find horses that need to be ridden colder, they normally need more luck and trouble. They find more trouble. So they're ridden a little bit close with a slow tempo. Maybe that's not its go. But it was a little bit plain, I thought. Cafe Missing by Nose. I feel like I was on it. I just don't remember it. Melbourne. Which horse? Shadizi? So yeah, I think that was a pretty boring meeting, as in there weren't too many surprises there. A lot of the horses are probably, that was sort of grand final time. Maybe, Steffi Magnetica and a few others will head to Melbourne. Maybe Sky Glider will head to Melbourne and try and find a race. A lot of the 3-year-olds from the Stan Fox and the Spring Champion probably won't go forward. The Pearls or whatever may go to the Oaks for sure. And then sort of Transatlantic and that go to the 5 Diamond, but I don't think there's much sort of upside in much of the video watching there. It's all pretty obvious. Moonee Valley, the fence was obviously, dynamite, which was a disaster really, because it starts to, change the way people ride horses and what have you early in the day, sort of solid effort, Stardom looked gone on the bend. Napoleonic was interesting. The race has sort of gone 2.2 above to the 6, 2.5 to the, 8, and then 2.5 to the 6 and come home slightly above for a fast time. So, it was an impressive win and does carry that Beedman form, which we'll talk about when I've sort of talked about a couple of races here when we talk about the Coolmore, but yeah, it was a super win. I didn't think it had that in it, that horse, to be fair. The field wasn't super strong, but it's done everything, you want to see. It's circled on a day that was hard to circle and off a sort of even, slightly above average tempo. So, yeah, it was just a strong win. Napoleonic. Star of India was a good win. Yeah, there was a tip around for it. I couldn't really see it, but they were spot on there. Salty Pearl got the absolute ideal run in a pretty steady race, I thought. She's a Hustler. It was interesting. They just absolutely walked there. 8.4 lengths below to the 800, slowed down to 11 lengths below by the 600 and come home 6 above. So they've really ripped home there. So She's a Hustler, which didn't have a great setup, I didn't think, for second up 2000. Should sort of go forward again off that, even though she was completely, suited by the way the track was racing and where she was in the run. She's Unusual bled there, so that's, again, probably a little bit flattering for She's a Hustler in the race in particular, but I think this horse is pretty good. She's a Hustler, and she'll bounce off that and continue to improve off it. I don't know where she'll end up. Crystal Mile was just one of the better rides you'll see on Von Hawk, who's absolutely flying. Softish tempo there and a great ride. I think sort of a miles as far as Von Hawk wants, so the soft tempo helped it, and then just a beautiful ride, sort of picking through on the inside and getting the job done. Jigsaw's put together a pretty solid effort, just the fence again, solid sort of even tempo throughout and ran slightly above average time. So no knock on it, sort of got control between the 8 and the 6 and then sprinted home in even time. There was no real chases in Jigsaw's race, I think, just a rock solid horse. Observer's race is interesting. Observer's race is very interesting because it's gone out 5.5 below to the 800 metre mark, and then it's slowed down to nearly 10 lengths below between the 8 and the 6. So there's like a 4 length slowdown between the 8 and the 600 metre mark. They've just absolutely 1,000,000% handed this horse the race on a platter. And then you've got to work out, what that shutting down. I'm going to show it. Let's show it. How do we show it? That's not what we want. That's not what we want. What do we do? Shut down. What race was it?
Ready to run. Racing now. Crack a deal from barrier number 4. Jumped battling on. Crown of Russia next.
So you got, at this point, you got Providence here behind a wall. You've got Options back here, who I think is an interesting horse as well. Providence has come home the fastest, last 400 and 200 of the day, and as I sort of described, it was off a very slow tempo, so, you expect a few horses to rocket home here. O'Shamus has come home in the 5th fastest last 400, 3rd fastest last 200, and Options has run the 7th fastest last 200 of the day. So, to me, what you've got to work out is what was left in the tank here, and it's very difficult when you've got a horse that's had every conceivable possible chance, as in led controlled on a hot rail, booted at the right time, while other horses have had to sort of find room to move and then finish off. And this is purely from a Derby perspective, what's there. The other thing that scares me, and, jockeys don't normally shut horses down to the level that Mark Zara did here, is I hate it when jockeys drop their hands and horses stop. That to me normally means there's nothing left. This horse was only 3rd up, so it can improve off this in going to 2,500 metres. We know this horse can do this sort of sit and dash, but it doesn't really do a lot. It's only run sort of even time the last 600 metres, and that's obviously shutting it down, but it hasn't shut it down and cost it 8 lengths, I don't believe. Just interesting to, like, he quickens here, but he doesn't look like he's, You know, we're looking at Options, who's back here and can't really get clean room. Seamus is definitely closer to the right part of the track, and Providence really closes off hard late. So how far, hang on, how far in front is he? When he shuts him down, he's still riding him there. So at the 100-metre mark, what's that, 4 lengths? 1, 2, 3, 4. So even if you say he would have held that margin, which I don't think he would have, you know, what's left in the tank? It's I suggest it's very hard to back this horse in the Derby off that, and I love the horse. Especially at the price. Like I just don't like the way it stopped so quickly after having such a conservative run. Pride of Jenny, Zara with a peach. Yeah, absolutely peach. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I didn't freak out, but I freaked out. Look at it was it. Look at that. That's how far is that? 20 meters. It's pretty ballsy. Yeah, it to me looked a bit of a hurdler, but it definitely looks like 2,500 meters is up its alley. I think this horse is going to run well Options, and I think, you know, I wasn't a big rap on this horse Providence, but pretty hard to ignore that effort, and I don't think there's much coming out of Sydney. So, you know, purely from a, sorry, I'm not showing it. Yeah, I might have to have a look at it again, Mitchell. I know that it's only been set for one race, and that stable, you know, that's their go, but interesting. Anyway, Cox Plate, chat about it. The mighty Cox Plate, they went 3 lengths below to the 800, 4 lengths below to the 600, and come home only a length and a half above for a 2.5 length below. Talking before the race, you know, there were a few things to expect here. Antino was obviously going to run well. Aliana was always dangerous. There's no speed in the race. Where were all these horses going to get to? Buckaroo had been handled, and Treasure of the Moment looked like they weren't at their best. Buckaroo had been handled by Globe last start. There was just not much going for this race in sort of trying to work it out. And then Antino doesn't finish the course, basically just never takes part. Don't know what the issue was there. Aliana, we'll have a look, never really took part either. So, you know, what is this race? I know I struggle to have sort of some of the ratings guys sort of saying, oh, you know, if there was a horse in the race that set up a stronger tempo, they would have run a better rating. Well, would they? I don't really know. Like, I think the winner's effort was pretty good, came wide and stuck it out, but and the second horse definitely had its chance to go past it and couldn't. I think Treasure of the Moment, even though it was sort of forced to go a little bit early, had every possible chance. Yeah, Nepotism, all those horses had their chance. I just think it was a very, very poor race. What does it? It doesn't really matter. I just don't think the horse is going anywhere near as well as it was this time last year, even though it spiked like a, you know, like a goddamn Hail Mary gridiron. It spiked about 10 lengths in this race last year, and it's never been able to repeat it. But I just thought it was a very, very disappointing race. I want to watch this one.
For the Ladbrokes Cox Plates.
And I'm amazed there was no repercussions for this. So interesting that
Treasure the Moment over on the far side beat them out from attrition. Light Infantry Man's using plenty of the track out past the centre, but is forging on out wide. At the
just interesting here, like nothing wanted to sort of go to the fence, and that's why sort of Bowman ends up going there. Sort of the gaps continue to open. You know, this is just quite interesting. They obviously went a little bit quicker early and then really slowed it up, and that's when Bowman here tries to start pinching runs, which is quite interesting sort of watching it. Didn't surprise me that he tried to do it considering, you know, how hot the fence was. And then he just sort of kept progressing up there, and what I was surprised is that he just didn't get glued to the back of Treasure of the Moment when he sort of got the opportunity, but you can see the gaps open up so heavily.
the back section, 1200 to go. It's
So to this point, you know, he's ridden a 12 out of 10, Bowman, you'd have to say. It was just, you know, this stupid camel that shouldn't have been in the race. And it's like the old, I don't know, it's like the little kid with his old man's $2 jar or something, where he just keeps pinching $2 coins thinking, oh, if I take one, Dad won't realise, and then if I take another one, Dad, you know, won't realise, and then all of a sudden he just took one too many and Dad bloody snapped his finger off. That's kind of what it felt like to me. His eyes just got too big for his belly. He just sort of pinched and pinched and pinched to a point here, like he even gets this inside run, and this to me here is when he just had to try and switch. And, you know, he kind of has the opportunity here, kind of. And this stupid camel nepotism again is just in the way and ends up getting pushed in. But you can see as soon as he sort of, Treasure of the Moment doesn't improve fast enough for him to angle out into that run, and then this gap actually gets bigger. And look at that. Like, there's definitely room there. And he's just a little bit probably thinking about going this way too much. And then by the time he decides to go this way, the gap opens. So now he goes for it. And the pressure of the outside horses forces Light Infantry Man back to the rails and the game's over. So, yeah, it was just a bit of a shame for Bowman, because it would have been one of the greatest rides he's ever produced in his life, I think, if he had pulled it off. And I think it would have won easy. And I think in hindsight, he probably wouldn't have done it anyway, because the horses up front went so bad that he would have been in the finish regardless. So it's just a bit of one of those, in hindsight, did he need to be that cute? Probably not, because he didn't have much to beat in the race. But, you know, if he had pulled it off, it would have been one of the all-time ones. And I was on Aliana. I didn't bet into the race too heavily, but I was certainly not, you know, shattered by what he tried to do, because, you know, the run's there. He's just been a victim of circumstance completely. It's just a little bit unlucky. Baywhack, how far? I'll have a look at Arabian Prince. I'll have a look at sort of what they've done. I'm just not sure about those lead-up horses. Buckaroo will win the Melbourne Cup. If Buckaroo wins the Melbourne Cup, jeepers creepers. I'll take the 8. Nepotism wasn't in the race. It was. It shouldn't have been in the race. Nepotism. I can't believe that for 20 years that horse would never have been allowed to run in that race. I know they were trying to get runners, but it should never have been allowed in the race. I think she'll be a better horse next year, Sacred Fall. I think she's a very good horse that'll improve again next time. Yeah, it's a bit of a. It's a Valley dying is not a. It's a one that tugs at your heartstrings, but are you going to miss it? You know, from a betting perspective, probably not. All right, so races. I don't know if I'm allowed to. We'll do it anyway, because whatever. What are we doing here? Let's go. Yeah, these races actually interest me quite a bit this week. Whether there's gaps in the market or not, I just think they're some of the best races we have seen this time in. So, surely Hawks hasn't said anything after the race. What, he hasn't made excuses. They can't. Is that where they're going to run the Cox Plate next year? They should run it at like Pakenham or somewhere. What am I doing? Got to get this screen so I can see what I'm doing. Searching horses. So, yeah, okay, Providence into 650. I think Observer's very, very short at 190. And I've got it going for a decent result. I think it's far from a certainty. Oh, Seamus is interesting. For $15 seems $15 for O'Shamus seems a big in comparison to Providence. Like there were, Providence and O'Shamus arguably has got more upside. Did have a slightly better running transit there the other day, but you would say that it's probably, out to 2,500, only lightly raced, whereas Providence has sort of had a bit of a harder prep. Options $11 seems very fair to me, but it is deep into its first prep, isn't it? Look for options. What just happened there? Source. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is going to be a 6-run first prep. That's not easy. But it continues to hit the line. It's done nothing wrong. And geez, he's done a good job, McAvoy, keeping some horses up. Like half yours, he had it up for an eternity. That's the first time the horses finished out of the first 3 the other day. I couldn't have as big a gap there. Like that race on Saturday, I could have that bigger gap because of the draw and around Moonee Valley. But back to Flemington, 2,500 metres, I definitely think sort of the gap should be closer between Observer and Options. Arabian Prince, I just want to have a look at what the race shape was like last start because it was a little bit disappointing, but it was given a very, very negative ride. Yeah, so it's run the second fastest last 800 metres of the day last start, Arabian Prince. It's gone 1,800 first start. Then it was tipped out 77 days between runs. They went 16 lengths below to the 600 metre mark first up, and it ran the fastest last 200 of the day there. Then they've gone 16 lengths below again at Caulfield, and it's run the second fastest last 800 of the day there. Fastest 800 to the 200 of the day. So I couldn't say the horse has been disappointing. And definitely, I'd much rather back Arabian Prince at $15 than take $1.90 Observer. I just hope that it draws a gate or they sort of don't give up this crazy start, out to 2,500 metres. Definitely this horse has been set for one race and one race alone. I'm assuming it's going to get a start. Like it's a 3-start maiden. It's run 1 placing, but I'm assuming it'll get in. Autumn Mystery I wanted to look at. Well, it won that race, didn't it, Autumn Mystery? So just let me look at the last 200 metres of that race. He definitely spent his tickets trying to sort of get there, I think, Arabian Prince, whereas Autumn Mystery was cuddled up, like just had that beautiful run, 5th the inside, just cuddled, and got through late and could sprint. Sort of got checked, but yeah, it's a horse that's hard to line up, but I think Autumn Mystery is short enough. For me, yeah, definitely Options is interesting. O'Shamus is interesting. And Arabian Prince is very interesting. I think I could entertain backing all 3 of them. Arabian Prince First Emergency, very interesting. Aliana is gone. Why would you say that? If Aliana's gone, well, I would suggest that nearly everyone in that Cox Plate was not at their best, so I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's hard to say she's gone. Menangatang, I agree with Menangatang. The penning, the Geelong Classic. Who won the Geelong Classic? Was that Miwa, or was it in that race? Who was in the Geelong race? Azazel. That was the day it was blowing a while ago, was it? Or they ran it the next day? Yeah, I am petting that reform. Pretty much. Even though they were up against Options as well in that slowly run race, they did nothing in that. They did nothing in that Geelong race. Like they went slow and then they never even sprinted home. I think that high vol is a hurdler. Like as in needs 2. I think it needs 2 miles plus, and it sort of led and controlled and probably went too slow for it. If anything, probably cost it its best chance in the race. But yeah, I think they're whackers. I don't think there's much in there that's too scary. But I honestly don't think there's anything too dominant here. I think there's a lot of whackers. So I'd just love to know where the speed's going to come from. Yeah, well, that's not silly, Randy. But I'm a punter. I want to try and find $15 winner rather than $2.20. Or take that's only $1.80, isn't it? So yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky, but yeah, I think there's opportunities in the Vic Derby if you want to go looking for them. Let's just put it that way. Coolmore's interesting. Yeah, like it amazes me that the betting's is close. Like it's ridiculous. Like what's that percentage? It's about 5 billion%. Spicy Lure run 2000 for sure. The land of a thing, but a run 2000 because there's no pressure in any of these races. Coolmore's interesting. Baywhack, like trialled really well, trialled better than Cephia Magnetica, and it's winning the Coolmore was incredible. The only thing is sort of 1400 back to 1200, and down the straight. Hippo, I love Hippo, but he doesn't ride the straight often as well. So they're all little queries against Baywhack. I think Tentaris is a dead set weapon. It'll be very interesting to see where the betting finishes here. If it was around a bend, I'd nearly say Tentaris would win the race. It's not around a bend. I hate straight racing because the confidence is just never there because of how significant the patterns are and where you've got to be in the draws and how things unfold in the race are just so hard to work out. But I think Tentaris its win the other day was special for mine. I think it's just and it's done it a few times. Real builder horse. It takes a while to build its momentum and hit the line. I think it's just very, very dangerous. I think you'll get better than $3.50. I get the feeling you will. Beedman, to me, even though it trialled very well up the straight and certainly improved significantly first up to second up, Napoleonic's come out of that race and won. It's just very close in the betting to the top two, considering it hasn't really shown that yet. Skyhook's dangerous, but I think has to put up a huge performance to turn the tables on Baywhack, and then it's got to get round Tentaris as well. Raging Force had its chance against Tentaris the other day, and My Gladiola, I think, is probably, needs to go to another level. Hidden Motive's interesting. I thought it was very good the other day. And, that was Rose Hill, 1,100 metres or whatever, with the fence. So it's very different down the straight, but it's a horse that's not completely legless. What did Legacy Bound do last up? I thought Legacy Bound was awesome first up, and then the other day... What happened to it there? Just a bit of a forgotten horse, Legacy Bound. It's back on the inside. McGaw's up the outside. It's only just, I think it was ridden poorly. I think and it was probably in arguably the wrong spot. So I would suggest it could run a very positive race, Legacy Bound. Couldn't really see Tycoon Star reviving itself. Jimmy Ricard, McGaw won that race, but I think it had all favours. I think definitely Legacy Bound's got more upside than McGaw. I think I think Legacy Bound's probably the value, sort of roughy. $19. I think that's a big price for a very talented horse. But I do think the horses up the top are very, very hard to beat. Baywhack and Tentaris. It's just not enough fat probably there at the moment. It'd be just interesting to see what prices we get, come acceptances and closer to the race, because the two blue horses are very, very talented. Tentaris won't be too far away down the straight, out to 1,200 metres. I don't think, the other day he really set it as big a task he possibly could. It's obviously not going to be right in the firing line, but it didn't get that far back there, did it?
Second race on the program, ready at the 1,100 metres, and away they go.
Wrong race.
Legacy Bound equal third elects.
So 1,100 metres first up down the straight. How quick did they go? They didn't go quick there. And he's like right on their hammer. He's like right behind. He's within 2 lengths of the lead. And you know, around a bend, he's probably going to give him 6 or 8 length start. Down the straight, he's probably not going to give him that much start. So, again, it's all dependent on the draw and what have you. But he's only sort of 2-3 lengths off the lead at the most there. So, I can't see why Tentaris wouldn't be that close again here. I wouldn't suggest it'll get too far out of its ground. Gleb, if you collect that bet, you're the best I've ever seen. If my Gladiola beats these horses, you are David Copperfield. Or you're Chris Waller's bloody... Mr. Improver. You are David Copperfield. Yeah, I think Tentaris will win the race, to be fair. I honestly do. But Baywak's a very, very good horse. And I just think Beedman's too short. If it wins too good, it's one of those ones where, like, gut feel, if Beedman beats these horses, it does have a bit of cosmic force about it, but I think these two horses are very good horses, the blue horse, and it's just a matter of what price we get about, you know, either of them, or whether you choose one and save on the other, or back them both, or, you know, it's just, I think one of them will win, and I'll probably have something very small on Legacy Bound. Empire Rose I'll look at very quickly, not that big of an interest. I don't know what horses are going here, so I'm not that interested. I thought Idle Flyer would be 20 to 1, it's $8. So, you know, it interested me, Idle Flyer. I wish they'd take the earmuffs off the goddamn horse. But I can't see why it won't run well. Damask Rose is very dangerous to Flemington. I think Fangirls, you know, she did beat Lindemann off a slow tempo the other day. It's very important, this race, who's in it. So if you get a Pride of Jenny, that hurts Fangirl in the race. Yeah, it's just a very hollow race for mine. But Damask Rose and Idle Fly are certainly the horses that interested me as horses on the up. I'm not a huge fan of Like a Lucy, and I think Fangirl's definitely on the back 9. Tissue will fall down, yeah. Interesting race. Again, I don't think there's much upside. Like, I'd rather take $6 about Idle Fly now, knowing that everything's right, rather than chiming into $8 and hoping that it draws a gate and that the makeup of the race is suitable for it. I don't think there's much upside there. This race is just super interesting. Golden Eagle in Sydney. Autumn Glow, $2.10. Jesus Christ, that's bloody short. Angel Capital, obviously unlikely to go there. Linebacker was huge. It was a great performance. Hang on, Linebacker. Did get a soft tempo there, so, you know, it wasn't as big as it was probably visually. But when this horse gets in that mode where it looks like it's going to go, you know, can roll forward and get in a rhythm and be extremely difficult to run down, I think he's going to run very well, Linebacker. Autumn Glow. She's only got to hold at form, doesn't she, really, to be extraordinarily hard to beat. I think this horse, Panja Tau, is one of the better or most interesting Japanese horses we've come out here. Trying to sort of line it up with a Barma Boomerai. I think it was a weaker race that horse faced. But this horse, to me, if you had to look at it, it won a mile Group 1. And if I could be bothered finding the replays, they are definitely worth looking for. I watched them all today, and I thought I could find them, but it basically got flushed wide in a mile Group 1, and then sort of got speared on the bend. It's hard to tell. Their footage is so difficult, but it looked like it was wide pretty much all the way. Then it was forced widest, then had made a really quick run, hit the front very early, and then it looked absolutely spent on the line and was lucky to win. But I think its performance was much bigger than what it looked visually. And then it went back to 1,200 metres off a freshen and won a Group 1. Very strong through the line there, and definitely doesn't look like a 1,200 metre horse. So I think the mile's no problem. 1,500 metres is absolutely ideal of this race. I think Randwick's very important to this horse. I think it's going to run very well, Panja Tower. It's a very dangerous horse. Evaporates, you know, obviously airborne, $11, no knock there. Sepals, I don't know whether it had a little setback, whether it's going to be 100% or not. Will he do it? Very hard to find off its last run. This horse, Perfumist, is completely and utterly airborne. As I sort of said, like Idle Fly beat it last up, but it's flying, it's got speed. It'll run a race for sure. And they were probably the main hopes, I thought. But yeah, it's a very good test for Autumn Glow, because this is definitely a much stronger race for mine than the Doncaster. Pericles was really the only horse there that was any opposition. She did carry a pretty big weight for her race record. So, you know, whilst she's just an excellent horse, probably the most progressive horse in the country, this is a really good test for her. You know, off the back of winning a Doncaster, linebacker should be at its best. I wish Angel Capital was going to be in the race. Probably not going to be. I think Pangia Tower is very, very dangerous. And, you know, horses like Evaporate, Sepals, they definitely know push over, and Parfumist will roll forward and give a side as well. Yeah, I agree with that, Paul. This is a far bigger test. This is a far bigger test. And I think I just wish they'd missed the Japanese horse a little bit. I wish it was sort of $10, $12, $14, which you may still get. I remember when that Obama Boomerang, whatever it was called, the Obama Boomerang was in this race, and it was about $6 on the Monday, and then I think we ended up getting like $10, $12. So that could happen again, and I could definitely entertain the Japanese horse. I think it's a pretty good horse. When is the Ore? Isn't the Ore in like... When is it? $21 days. So it's another 3 weeks away. So what's he going to do? Just run it fresh in that? Very weird. Very weird. I couldn't get they're the only races up there for futures that I could see. There are other, oh, here we go. So there's more now. What were the other races you were talking about? Vanity. She's an Alibi, Chatterley. Geez, these aren't very strong horses. What was the horse? Someone, was it Clip? Who was the one? Oh, the Wakeful. I'll have a look at it. What was the horse in the Vanity? There's nothing there that screams to me. Call Da Vinci and... Hey, okay, Call Da Vinci. Let me look quickly. Just looking at those horses at the top of the market, I don't think any of they're world beaters. Call Da Vinci. Oh, Call Da Vinci. Okay, so this is Lamming's horse. And second behind by Cash. Yeah, pass mark fresh. Sort of leveled out late. Form pretty good. Just refreshing myself on who these horses are. So She's Our Alibi hasn't run since it ran third to 10 Tyrus. What happened to the horse of his that won at the Valley? It's a pretty good run, She's an Alibi. Yeah, I'd probably want to wait and have a look at this one. I can't really see much upside to trying to dissect this one without barriers and this thing's a Luke Oliver thing. Oh, this is the...
Street Artist. Lofty Thoughts is getting out. Tino ALA follows the fence.
Runs third.
Pure Gallon. Lofty Thoughts gets to second. Street Artist.
Geez, it's hard to
Flighty in going in.
it must go enormous here for it to be $5.
And takes her place. Second last Surrender and last 10 Alili of Rohesia.
Did you drag it out of here?
Quickly with Philly set for the Crockets. As took it backwards, jumped quick and last. And
You drag it out.
it's going to be very close as
See, this is the problem with this bloody rail at Moonee Valley. So it looks a bit like Skybird, doesn't it?
and behind those horses.
Very hard to line this horse up. Tane Lily. Very hard to line it up.
It's Rohesia and Stardom together. It's going to be very close as they hit the line, kicking and winning on the
Very hard.
from Rohesia.
That race looks fraught with danger for mine. That looks a very scary race. I'd wait to see what the field comes out, but that horse is scary. He could easily, yeah. He can finish a race off. It's hit the line every start. 2 heavy track runs, its first prep, then it comes out and it's hit the line, you know, off negative rides twice in a row. Dangerous horse, but dangerous horse to back it too for mine. But, well, what else have we got? Wakeful. What were we interested in the Wakeful? Yeah, the old Rockhampton to Flemington. He's done a good job. He's got that. What was the other horse that he got from up the Brisbane trainer? It went like a rocket at the Valley. Freedom Flame. In Adelaide?
The gates, the red lights blinking away, set to run.
Wasn't slowing down sectionally.
To see them run. Racing now, Tel Aviv, the back of Conveyor, so he worked 2 legs, been on his back, 3, it's Calc away, hooking out, Freedom Flame comes down the outside, she's joining in powerfully, GT's a length off those, then Different Gravy, there's no Golden Guru, but there is a Freedom Flame right now, the flame is lit, 200 metres to go, down the outside, Different Gravy's coming now, Freedom Flame in front in the Hillsmith, is she going to do it? She will.
The second horse has gone like a rocket. Different Gravy. Yeah, it wasn't stopping.
Takes the outside for race number 4, the 1600. We're set to go. Big field, 2 lengths further up the ground. He's rang at 200 to go. Singha with wider. Pharaoh's Glory at the 100, joined and headed by Gucci Gallon. Different Gravy now. Different Gravy struck the lead late and
Yeah, the second horse has gone like a rocket. It's a dangerous horse. Different Gravy, but it's a gelding, is it? Prestige National. Got a good feeling he's absolutely flying. Looks well suited to 2,000 metres. Spicy Lou, I think, will run well. I can't see many angles there. Alpha Sophie, that's the horse, yeah. Burn the Valley Form. I tend to agree with a lot of that. Valley Form's Valley Form. Any other interesting races? Damien Oliver Carbine Club. Regal Awards, that lunatic, isn't it, with the earmuffs? Panova, that form I think will be absolute crap. This race will be interesting. I don't think either of these. I think these horses are both chinky. I think they could both get beat, Regal Award and Panova. Trying to find the winner against them. Geez, picked as just a horse. Paul Da Vinci's that thing we just looked at, right? Vinrock. It's sad, isn't it? There's nothing too progressive lining up there. How is Generosity $3 again? What am I missing there? Could they back Vestas up? How could it be $3 in that race? What the heck? GH Mum. Oh my God, didn't it go like a rocket first up? Caballas, and it looks like a horse that's absolutely suited. $9 is a big price, 9 into 6. It went like a rocket, Caballas, the other day. I've always wanted to see this horse Disney go down the straight. Both out of the same stable. Infancy was an interesting horse too. 50 to 1 Infancy. That race would be interesting. Rosehill Gold Cup. I can't believe I've just clicked on it, but I'll have a look. Maison Louis. Imperialist. My God, Imperialist. Didn't it win at Port Macquarie or somewhere the other day? Or Taree? Russell Balding. Is that this week? Jimmy Star Briassa. War Machine. Private Eye coming back for the Balding. This is his $3 million race, isn't it? What a stitch up. Angel Capital. Yeah, shock Private Eye. War Machine was too bad to be true the other day. Wait for the final field there too. Too many games going on where all horses going to too many different weird races. Okay, 4 pillars, here we go. Meridiana went like a rocket, didn't it? First up. B12, definitely no. That's fine, no. Shoot, Kingston Charm, no. Oakland, no. Alabama, no. No. Son of Deck, no. You're right about this horse. It's definitely got more upside than them. I don't know what the weight scale is or anything, but it's definitely better than these horses. It's just better. And it's got to turn a foot, and it can race closer if they want to. Gee, there's nothing scary there at all. Like, the horses are cast. Son of Deck goes good once every 8 runs. Yeah, I agree with that. Moscow, g'day, mate. Daniel, that genuinely has made my day, that statement. That's because you've stole the sign, Saintly. That's why you're going to tell everyone it's the greatest place on earth, because you've got the goddamn Moonee Valley sign in your bedroom. All right, yeah, it's interesting. This is probably the most excited I've been for races going forward, as in Saturday. There's some great races coming up. Melbourne Cup looks pretty steady, but yeah, the Coolmore, Big Derby definitely got angles to it. Empire Rose not so much. And definitely the Golden Rose. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to, I guess barrier draws will start coming out tomorrow for a lot of these races. Looks ideal for the pillars. Yeah. And much better for Meridiana to be Randwick than Rosehill, I'd suggest. It should expose a lot of the other horses and give it its chance to sort of settle wherever it wants to. I wonder if Josh is riding it. I don't know if he is. He'll be hungry after having a week off. I saw a lot of people got the piece of rail signed. It was quite funny. It was weird. It was strange. I couldn't really understand why they were allowing it, but I didn't realise it was such a free-for-all that you could take whatever you wanted. I just assumed they were letting people dig up a bit of grass if they wanted or something like that, but I didn't realise they were letting people take whatever wasn't tied down. But I guess it was people like Saintly that sort of trendsetted it, that just started stealing everything that wasn't cemented in. All right, I didn't do a thing last Friday because there was a race meeting on, wasn't there? I didn't do any sort of preview or anything last Friday, but I might this week. We'll see how we go. But I'll definitely be. I don't know. Maybe Wednesday I could do the afternoon shift. Last week they moved the races back, and I had to get out of there, but. You pay your membership fees, you're entitled to steal whatever you want. You and what's his name? Blogsy. You and Blogsy. Hasn't he blown up? Isn't he the everybody man now? Anyway, good to see that he had his 4,000 on. His 4,000 on. By Sistina and one by Actor God. All right, guys, thank you. Thanks for coming along. Sorry that there's still glitches. I am working on it. Whether we can get it back to where it was or we can sort of come to some understandings, I'll let you know, but we'll see what happens. But for the meantime, it is what it is, and we'll battle on. Cheers, guys. Have a good week. I'll be around. I'm never far away. Have a good one.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.